It's a beautiful Monday morning here in Lagos. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Uncle Yuri is on vacation. Get used to my face. I'll be here for a couple of weeks. And congratulations to the TVC family. Our own colleague, Michael Quarter, just won the Newscaster of the Year of the NMMA prestigious award. Congratulations also to the Community Forum team who brought back the Production of the Year award for 2018. We're so proud of you guys. Now let's turn our attention to our bone of contention this morning. It's just a few days before the end of the year, and the political calculus for Nigeria's presidential election has come in quite early, about 3 years early. Recently, we heard the president deny that he's seeking a third time in office. Campaign posters of certain political bigwigs are also everywhere. The conversation on which geopolitical zone should offer us the president for 2023 is also one germane conversation that has featured in public discussions recently. What impact will this also have on governance? Of course, you know that governors somehow just get to slow down on pre-election here, and hopefully that will not be happening anytime soon. I'm joined this morning, and my political analyst is no doubt a seasoned elder statesman and accountant by profession, is the Ekon Oduagbara of our kingdom, Mr. Jamiu Jimo Ekongwa. Thank you very much for finding time to join us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Let's begin with what has become very popular thoughts recently when the Kaduna State Governor mentioned that perhaps we should be looking away from zoning this time and talking about competence when it comes to who emerges next president. What are your thoughts about this?
The thought is already known to everybody. Professor Jibril Amino said it. There's no village, no local government of the 773 local government in Nigeria that cannot produce what Erufai is talking about. There's none. So the competency, when we're talking about rotation, federal character, it is a thinking of our elder statement that gone before us that taught this is a way to cement ourselves together so that no particular geopolitical section of the country will have it all at the expense of the other. Like my friend Malam Ibrahim Shekarau put it, and like I can show to people, the 8 years of our father, Obasanjo, has not, I don't say how it has helped this Western region better than others. For instance, you are going to Ottawa, where his farm is, you are going to hell. The road is not constructed. I traveled to Mina recently. We produced IBB Mina. We produced Absalam. The road is bad. So it's not as if that you, being there as the son of the soil, will confer on that location extraordinary dividend of democracy, as they call it, but gives this, mentality of the fact that this is our own. So if it is our own, and we can produce, like he said, Erufai said, competency. So say that my village cannot produce somebody that is as competent as whatever.
But in your opinion, since 1999, do you think that we've had the quality of competence that is required to raise Nigeria to that desire?
I don't understand what you say.
Since 1999,
yeah.
Do you think that we've had that quality of competence and leadership that is required?
What is required of the president of the country is to provide leadership. There's going to be federal executive, there's going to be national assembly, there's going to be essays, there's going to be that and that. You have to select so that nobody felt neglected or forgotten.
This need for
and like the question you asked,
yes,
I would not say that anybody that will be president of Nigeria is not competent to lead us. The only problem that we always have in Nigeria is who are those people that hijack a leader when they get to position.
It's also part of competence. If you are leading something and then a set of people hijacks it, it tells how competent you are to,
listen to me, I had the experience. You see, if you have never been in that position, it could be so easy. It is what is presented to you that you see. You understand? I agree with you that competency is part of it because you have a vision, you have a mission to drive. So if that vision and mission you want to drive, to the best of your knowledge, is not being propelled and put right before you, then questions comes in.
The issue of power rotation, as it were, is not constitutional. And we believe that parties over the years seem to have employed zoning as a way to appeal or appease rather to, the generality of the people like you.
It is not constitutional.
Like you established
don't
earlier.
forget that
Yes.
there's Federal Character Commission,
Apparently, yes.
which is constitutional. That Federal Character, provision of our constitution had indicated an idea into Nigeria that we will allow every part of this federation to be part and parcel of whatever is going on.
I get your point precisely, but the point I was trying to drive out is the fact that whatever power rotation we're looking at right now as it regards to 2023 will be that we're expecting that people or parties will toe that light. Is there any binding, is there any compulsion, as it were? Are we expecting that to be the norm as we count down to 2023?
Of course, there's no part of the Constitution where it is written that this thing must rotate. But most of time, at the time, most of the incumbents that are there now are coming to power. That's one of the things they will always promise. And when they promise, get there, then things start to change.
All right, so let's move on. There are quite a number of things to discuss this morning. There are people who are saying, for instance, that anyone who's serious about power rotation should make it legal by amending the Constitution. Is this something that will happen anytime soon? Are you also an advocate of this thought?
Anyway, you see, the point is, since we have in Nigeria thought it fit to think of what is called National Character Commission, the National Character Provision, the National Character Implementation, there's nothing that says we cannot go further to do that. So that we now say there are 6 regions. How do we ensure that any of the region will not be left unattended to in terms of rotation of power?
You recall that I think it was in 1993 when we had the Muslim ticket, and it was an overwhelming support from majority of the people.
Of Nigerians.
What do you think has happened over the years?
But then you will realize that Nigeria did not allow that mandate to be implemented.
Was it Nigeria, as it were, or the power that be in those days?
Are that power not Nigerians? Yeah. An individual in Nigeria is a Nigerian. So if he can't, if that person can override all of us, then we allow him to override us. It means we have allowed it. So the point I'm raising is, then the Muslim ticket was not allowed. It was not.
Do you think it will fly in 2023?
Beg your pardon?
Do you think it will fly in 2023?
Muslim ticket?
Yes.
I'm a Muslim. I will not encourage it. I will not encourage it. I will advise against it. It's better for us, look, to balance. You see, there's no reason why we must not allow ourselves to remain. In my community where I come from, every member of the family, you have Muslim, Christian, and we relate very well. So there's no reason why we should go for Muslim or Christian. It's being done in some places today, but as far as I'm concerned, if you ask me the question, I will say, look, let us allow this thing to go around. Let us share it among ourselves. Equitable. That's what is called equity.
Well, bringing it home in a short while, what we've seen play out between now and 1999 is some sort of a silent agreement or arrangement between the North and the South.
Yeah.
And then we've seen a presidency rotate from the Northwest to the Southwest. But they say that, where do you see the pendulum shift as we count down to another big one in 2023?
The point that is there is this. The most important thing that I think must be allowed now is let the North and South handle it, because we do not want a situation where either the southern brothers or the northern brother will think a particular, geo division is having it all. I am thinking it should be allowed to come to the south. Coincidentally, I'm a member of APC. One would have expected that our brother in the southeast will have played politics of give and take. But the way it is presently, they have put all their eggs in one basket. So I do not know how that basket will be able to work for them. So if, therefore, it comes to the south and the APC is not able to get the right candidate from the eastern region, then it will come to southwest.
But as we speak right now, northwest, southwest, south-south appears to have had that privilege of giving us a president since 1999. There are people who are saying that we're yet to hear from the southeast, the north central, and one other,
the northeast.
The northeast as well. Do you think that it will be fair, like we have started this conversation, to begin to look at those geopolitical zones where no president had emerged before?
Of course, we should. It depends on how their leaderships are playing the politics, because politics is about number, and politics is about relationship with the group you belong to, which is called the political party. So there are two major political parties in Nigeria presently. So whichever, geopolitical zone is able to make sure that the political party that is able to win the election, you are properly placed there, is now going to be the thing that would play out.
Let's talk about Owo. Perhaps one of the reasons why we've brought you here to speak about the political life of that city and its significance in the formation of certain progressive groups, as we begin to look at the role that Southwest would play in a countdown to the presidential election. Help us understand how this city really has been relevant politically to the Southwest.
Of course, you see, by let me say, by luck, naturally, in 1951, Egbe Omo Oduwa was established in Owo. It was Egbe Omo Oduwa that metamorphosed to Action Group. Of course, UPN grew from Action Group. And during this dispensation, Alliance for Democracy, AD, was a product of UPN, either you like it or not. And from AD came AC, Action Congress. From AC came ACN, Action Congress of Nigeria. And by the grace of God, today, the political party today, APC, it is the leadership of ACN that initiated, planted the seed that led to the amalgamation of some political party to become APC. And by the grace of God, the leader of ACN then had metamorphosed to become an indisputable leader of the APC. Consequently, it means that whatever is ruling Nigeria today germinated from Owo Kingdom. That's number one. Number two, we have democracy today. Don't forget that the headquarters of what do they call it? NADECO was in Owo under the leadership of our father, Pa Ajashi. It was NADECO that shook Nigeria, that allowed Nigeria to go democratic, which we are reaping today. Consequently, it's also from Owo. And look at it too. The major issue that we did not pay attention to that had led us to where we are today is education. I'm not talking of literacy. You can go to school, you may not be educated. The first master plan of education in Nigeria or in West Africa, free education that was propagated and implemented by our father, Obafemi Awolowo, was designed, developed in Owo. And the first person that implemented it was Pa Ajashi. So Owo, as a town, apart from that, the fact that we are celebrating 1,000 years of our existence, has a lot to be grateful to God for the role God had made us to play in the political life of Nigeria.
Oh, very prominent role. I mean, I never saw it in that light before. But what's the situation right now? How politically alive is Owo, and what role is he playing in the present and the future political life of this nation?
Of this nation, of course, coincidentally too, the first democratically elected governor of Ondo State, Pajashi, was from Owo. And now, the current governor is also from Owo. Consequently, we are doing our best. And for your information, the current governor, to the best of my own knowledge, I'm not being modest about it, so that nobody will think I'm campaigning for him. It's not time to campaign. Has done tremendously well in terms of infrastructure, in terms of education, in terms of industrialization, and in terms of health in Ondo State now. Okay. Because the yardstick and the benchmarking had always been Baba Jachi, Baba Jachi. This man had come, 4 industries have been established. 4 in Ore Industrial Park, functioning presently. This man, you know, Olokola port, it's deepest in the coastal line of Nigeria, coastal line of West Africa. And I understood from Casablanca to Cape Town, yes, there's no port there. Nigeria will be busy building port where we'll be dredging to be able to build a port. We have been producing governors, military and civilian. This man has insisted that this is his first time, he must get it done. And NPA had now approved the plan. When that port comes live, Lagos will have a competitor in Ondo State in terms of economy.
It's all right.
It will vibrate.
We're looking forward to that. We had to break that in because, you know, your chieftaincy background with Owo and all of that. When we return after this break, we'll turn our attention right back to the issue of the presidency ahead of 2023 general election. Is it coming way too early? And what impact will they have on the quality of governance as we have it right now? We'll also be joined by another guest who will be joining my guest right now on the show this morning. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us. Glad to have you stay with us. You're watching this morning, and we're looking at some of the very interesting developments in the country this morning. Whether or not the campaigns for the presidential election in 2023 is coming in early, and that's one very interesting development for every Nigerian, especially if you've been following this program from last week. We've had speakers from the South. You just had someone from the Southwest, and we have Chijioke Eze, public affairs analyst, joining us on the show as well this morning. Good morning, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Before you came in, you know, I was speaking with my very interesting elder statesman about the development ahead of 2023 election and the talk of competence ahead of zoning. It was the Kaduna State Governor who made mention of that a couple of months ago. What are your thoughts along this line?
Well, it's very interesting that when the odds did not appear in their favor, he, El-Rufai, clamored for the zoning, that it was the turn of the Northerners to produce a precedent. And now he's the one saying zoning is not as important as competence. In truth, zoning is not as important as competence, but I heard him say that somebody, I can't remember the name of the prof he mentioned.
Professor Jibril Abino.
Exactly. But the truth is, that's what's always been. There is no part of Nigeria, even in states where they are called educationally less privileged states, you have people there who have competence to do whatever it is that they've been called to do. But then, if when zoning afforded you the presidency, you provided who was competent for your end. Why would zoning then not afford me the opportunity to provide my own competence? Why should you eliminate zoning so that you can have the opportunity to perpetuate leadership at your end? I don't think that that's a smart way to go about it. And I love his submission when he said he comes from a place where you have Christians and Muslims, and he would not stand for a Muslim ticket or a Christian ticket. Why? Well, this is a very diverse country. You need to go round. Leadership needs to go round. It can't get to the point where I'm supposed to provide competence for the entire country, and then you say, oh no, let's shelve competence. In that case, he, El-Rufai, did the unthinkable in Kaduna State to throw up a Muslim ticket. I don't know, he can go around telling the world how he fares, but we know that the bulk of the challenges he's had to deal with have come from the Christian zones in his country, in his state rather. It's always advisable when it comes to the public reins, when it comes to ruling the people or leading the people, because this is not a military regime. When it comes to leading the people, you have to carry them along. And you cannot carry them along in a manner that doesn't favor them.
I get a point, precisely. Chief Ekungba, we were talking about the fact that Orwell will be clocking 1,000 years, and you were able to drive home the point how politics have been intrinsic and the role that that city has played over that long period of time. I'm concerned about, the fact that government should be a continuum. So we had the vision 2020, the fact that Nigeria will be one of the top 20 economies in the world by 2020, and 2020 is just around the corner. The challenge we've had is having this vision outlive a particular administration. And this is where the issue of zoning comes in again. It looks like when we change hand in leadership, we just change the concept totally. The new administration comes in with its own 7 or 8 points agenda, shelving most times, what has been done before. How do you think this can be addressed subsequently?
Let me put it this way. It's your personality. You understand? Like I said, I'm a member of the board of trustees of the party. I shouldn't be seen by those state people campaigning for Akeredolu. But the truth of the matter is that when the man became governor, he continued the program of his predecessor, despite the fact that he belongs to another party. Yes, that is it. So Nigeria is a country, it's our country. Why must you abandon? I'm an accountant. The meaning is, whatever the previous administration had done is a sunk fund. The money, which is taxpayers' money. The reason why people are not being kicked seriously for it is because the greater part of the money is from oil. If it is our taxes, we will not agree. So if there is a program, a government that comes in should continue that program. You are president of Nigeria, and the president of Nigeria is living. That's why we call it president. There should be continuation in governance. That's what is called good governance. That's why there's a project. That's why there's a ruling plan. Once you abandon it, you are destroying the life of the country. That's why we're in what we are now. In the olden days, there's usually plan 4 years, 5 years. But when there's a change of government, you drop it. And so the industrialization plan was destroyed, abandoned. And consequently, you start producing graduates without work for them. So if there is a plan drawn by a government, you are now a president of the same government. You are not supposed to start a new program. You have to implement that program. Although you will have your own agenda, you have that thing you have promised the electorate, then you bring those to impact on what the former government is doing. Like, the Honorable Minister of Works, if he has abandoned all contract awarded by the previous government, we won't have achieved what he has achieved in terms of infrastructure development of road now. So the point I'm trying to raise, therefore, is this. Somebody need not breach the constitution before we can continue Nigeria. So 2 terms is enough for any person to do whatever he's supposed to do. Let another person come and do it. We are not running monarchy.
Absolutely, and the incumbent president already cleared the air as regards that. There was an individual who had gone to court who wanted him to come again for a third time, but the president said he's a Democrat and that's not going to happen. But how do we begin to have that Nigerian dream? Because we seem to have, politics seems to have colored leadership so much that even when a new administration is coming, it wins election on the wings of rubbishing the efforts of the outgoing one. So the issue of having a dream that brings us together across religious, ethnic, and political divide is very critical if we're going to move forward as a nation. How do we see us having all of this?
Well, first things first, I'm trying to be civil in my words.
Please, you should be.
I have to. Because the challenge we have right now is that the leadership are aloof. They're oblivious of the requirements of today. They are running Nigeria of maybe the 40s, not Nigeria of the millennium or the millennia to come. It's important that we look we look at what we have with regards to the human capital. On the average, every educated Nigerian is looking to go abroad. It's Canada, New Zealand, Australia. And we forget that those places we are running to, people developed those places and are still developing those places. It's because of a loss of faith in the leadership. And unfortunately, the leadership is oblivious of this. And so, for us to have that kind of dream, there has to be a disconnect. We, the young people, we have to find a way to disconnect ourselves from the errors of the leaders. And we need to start to work more closely, collaborate. I've said to people, and I like the point he made, if the monies generated from this country come from taxes, trust me, we will do better. And I imagine that an entrepreneur has put maybe 10 years of his life building a business. And then a new governor wakes up in the morning and wants to erode his business. You will see that entrepreneur in action. Try anything around the businesses of the billionaires we have today, be it in banking, be it in industrialization, wherever, be it in the automotive industry. You will see people rise to the occasion. Yeah. So for the young people, for us to achieve the dreams, because in my opinion, I don't see anybody who is above 70, catching on to what we have to do for ourselves. Let's all go ahead and do the best we can to develop ourselves for ourselves. By the time we do that, we would have created something to protect. And in so doing, it would force upon us when the government tries to do something that negates that which we have built. But when you haven't built anything, there is nothing for you to protect. You don't have a sense of belonging. But I imagine that somebody who's put in, for instance, the man who builds cars in Nnewi, Innocent, do you think that if the government of Anambra State wakes up tomorrow and says, oh, we want to use this area for agriculture, he's going to let them touch his industry? I don't think so. But if he had nothing there, what would he ask for? Compensation. Oh, you want to use my land, pay me compensation. But because he's built something on that land, he's not going to ask you for compensation. He's simply going to say, Oga, leave my land.
So you seem to have touched a very important point, bridging the gap between the aged and the young. And that's very interesting because that's what my panel depicts this morning. So I've heard people say, for instance, that in 2023, we're likely to have a generational shift. The fact that the military men who took over in the counter coup of the 1966, that most of them might be octogenarian at that time and might not have so much impact on that election. But help us understand this. We should, just like you mentioned earlier, that zoning is critical and that we can get competent people from every part of the world. We also see the president in the United States, for instance, I think is in his 70s. Yeah. And you look at the presidential debate, there are people there who are way above 70, who are still interested in leading that nation. Where did we get this idea that once a person has crossed 70, then it shouldn't lead us as president?
Like I said earlier on, there's differences between literacy and education. Education is about the total development of man. So when you are developed, the way you perceive things will be different. So that is generally what has gone on with Nigeria. You see people, 4-year-old boys sent to nursery start speaking English, forget speaking his own local diet, can't relate with his father. So if he cannot relate with his father, why will he be able to relate with the reality of our environment? He said one thing, I think I just want to add to it. You see, the present government inherited what I call backlog of crisis. Nigeria have forgotten that IBB started where we are today. That August 1990, what is it? When it started the structural adjustment program.
SAP.
Naira then was equal to $2. This gentleman just came with this deceiving us and changed the whole life of Nigeria and started. Since then, nobody has been able to apply brake in the depreciation of Naira because he has started it. We are already on the slip ground. So consequently, somebody want to correct that. You are talking of a thing of over 30 years. The problem that has accumulated over 30 years. We're not referring to the past. This is not issue about digitalization of our politics. It is not. You want to rebuild a house, the bad one there, you have to first destroy it. And so what has germinated in Nigeria, which must first be destroyed, is corruption. And what is the meaning of corruption? Refusing to do right thing in the right way by the right person. Any method that you use to achieve that is corruption. And that's exactly what is manifesting in Nigeria today. Put round peg in round hole, Nigeria will move forward. Like you said, the government of the day is facing this issue critically, and the issue of the youth. We have a lot of loans that are going over the places.
Let me hold you for a minute, Chief, to take this call from Dopemu, and then I'll get back to you very shortly. Good morning, Yakub.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Glad to have you around. Go ahead with the contribution.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Advocacy for 2020 so heavy. For me, the one when we started this project concern 2023, I was of opinion that it's too early. But I come to realize that 1,000 miles start from a step. And then a very good strategic politician, in as much as one election is spent, he will start his own preparation. I would say that, you see, I totally disagree with due respect to Governor Erufai, I totally disagree with him. Because you cannot rule out people in this country in our political atmosphere. One, religion. Second one is tribalism. You see, you can never go to election in this country with a Muslim ticket. When we are talking about presidential election, you can do that in a governorship election, especially when you come from the northern part of this country. If you dare do that in south, I can tell you will fail. But it says that Tony arrangement is going to be removed from this time around. I think it's missing it because you cannot just say that you want to remove Tony arrangement. It is not within our constitution. Yes, quite all right. But our political atmosphere is not yet right to that kind of a situation. Because for me, I always believe that this time around, if Southeast, I repeat, if Southeast play their policies very, very well, I think the presidential is supposed to come from that particular region. But it looks like they don't get it. As one of your guests said earlier, you don't get it because politics is a game of numbers. You need to align with people that can make you to become the president. But they always put their head, as one of your guests said earlier, that they put their head in one basket every time, which is not done if you want to become a leader. But to me, come 2023, anywhere the presidential candidates come from, either from APC or PDP, because we only have two political parties leading in this country. But as it is today, the governing body, the governing party, I believe this time around, they can never allow presidential of that very particular party come from the north. Because it will not go. People will not vote for them.
I get a point, Jacob. Thank you very much for calling in this
Let me
morning.
quickly say one
Please do.
thing.
Yes, sir.
People refer to Muslim ticket alone. They don't talk about Christian ticket.
Exactly.
You know, those states is Christian ticket. Muslim in those states are not less than 40%. That the fact that they didn't go to school does not mean they are not entitled to it.
Correct.
Ekiti, the Muslim, they are not less than 30%. A Christian there. Well, we're not talking about that. I understand that El-Rufai carried it too far by talking about competency. And that's why I'm telling him, let El-Rufai knows that in our war, we can produce 1,000 competent president. We have Akeredolu is doing well. Ajachin did well. So why can't we produce 1,000? So it doesn't mean that competency is one region. But this issue of being careful about religion, it's not only El-Rufai alone that is shooting us on the leg. We should tell all those people that are shooting us on the leg to stop it.
I get your point. Let's take a step further. So the issue of zoning, especially when you look at the ballots in all of our election, it has, everyone has been represented. Don't forget that we had about 93 political parties participated in this year's election.
Yes.
So we saw people across board. In the course of this year, remember that there were also talks about registering certain parties who did not show up for the party, who did not have enough representation across board. My thinking now is, it looks like we're already running a two-party system.
Of course.
Because the only reason why we're talking about zoning is to ensure that PDP and APC fields candidates from a particular part of the country.
Correct.
Yeah.
How do you see all of this play out, given the huge number of other parties that we have and who do not seem to be getting the desirable number during elections?
I like what the last caller said. There are fundamentals to politics and elections. The primary fundament is money. You have to have money. You have to have geographical spread, and then you have to have the numbers. In Nigeria, prior to this era of APC and PDP, it was SDP and NRC. I don't want to go too far into the 70s, the 80s, or the 60s, 70s, 80s, when you had the NCNC and the rest of them. Nigeria's modern history has been characterized by this two-party system. And that's also because of the way the monies have been channeled. And unfortunately, none of these political parties generated their monies outside of government coffers. It's always been, make it into the seat, make it into the office so you can amass enough of money to grow the party interests. The parties have hardly ever had to go outside of, even when they go out to raise monies, 9 out of 10 times, the biggest donors are the biggest beneficiaries of government contracts. So the monies have always come from within the government. So saying that you want to, maybe some other parties out of the 93 parties would rise, then it means that one of those parties needs to break its own back to get into some very critical office, say maybe the governor's office, and then find a way to amass some money for itself while also performing.
We're going to get there. Let me bring in Okoro. Okoro, help me with the name now. Okorafo.
Patrick from Arochukwu.
From Arochukwu.
Good morning, Mr. Nifemi, and good morning, Mr. Jada.
Good morning.
Mr. Dichoke.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, good morning. Compliments of the season.
And same to you.
You see, come 2023, Nigerian politicians should take into cognizance the principles of equity and fair play. Let me give you an example. You see, when there is any tournament, election is tournament. You see that the host country will bring students to come and display a banner there with all the citizens and fair play. So the game of soccer is something like politics. You cannot talk of a country like ours without the principles of equity and fair play. So when you talk about equity, equity means the balance. And that when you talk about that balance, you are talking about the equilibrium. Because when you go to demand and supply, there must be an equilibrium. Then I know that the calculation you are doing balance. Igbo man long overdue for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Today we talk about 6 geopolitical zones. Now what do you mean by 6 geopolitical zones? You must balance. That is equity. We talk about 724 local governments in Nigeria. We talk about equity and fair play. So for we as a country, because of our level of education and the way with our level of perception and assimilation, that is why we see all this issue of controversy that the presidency must go. To me, as a Nigerian, I'm not bothered wherever the presidency is coming from. What I'm after is somebody who's willing to do was to deliver and make sure you balance the equation that the equity and faith finish. So if the religion notwithstanding, I can work with anybody, anywhere, anytime, call it morning, afternoon, or night. But the question is that some Nigerians have been tribalized that it's not from social place, it's not person, it's not speak the same language, same like that. You cannot. That is the problem. By the time we root such ideology, it will. I pray by the spirit of this Christmas, it will help Nigerians to think positively. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Glad to hear from you, Kurafo. I'm just wondering how many more Nigerians would think like you're thinking, and who wouldn't mind where or who the president really is. You were making a point.
Yes, I was making the point that it's almost impossible for any of those parties to
So the
come.
issue of finance is critical. You recall that INEC came up with a law limiting the amount of money that parties can spend, for each election. Well, we don't know.
I have a question
Yes,
for
please.
INEC. What does INEC have to measure the amount of money that any political party spends? What is their measurement mechanism? Are they going to go to the TV stations to ask how much is your advert slot and how many hours did APC or PDP or which YPP buy for this period? How much is it? Is that what they're going to do? How are they going to measure this? Because it's one thing to come up with a law, it's a different thing to have the mechanisms to implement the law. So it's interesting. Is it not in this same country where somebody was accused of moving bullion vans of money into his house, and his question was, is it your money? Is it the government's money? It's my money in my house for whatever I wish to do. So it will help us to not crack these jokes, because it then makes our entire efforts laughable.
Chief Ekungba, you are a board member of the APC. It will be easy to just crap these other parties and leave you alone with the PDP. Do you agree?
Listen, the Constitution says people have freedom of association. The issue, which, like he said, asks the question, do INEC verify these parties they are registering?
Let me hold you, sir, just for a minute. We have a caller from Sweden. Let's hear from Michael very quickly. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, my brother.
Good to have you here. Go ahead with your contribution.
Morning.
What I want to contribute to this issue of government is Nigeria is for everybody. Every tribe is everything. 1999, when the PDP was formed, Obasanjo wasn't there, and they gave it to the Southwest for Advocacy and the unity of the country. And the same thing should be happening to every region. So I repeat again, it's not for every country, any other country. And if you can do this, let the people to start to and they can also whether it's not
I can hardly hear you, Michael. You might have to call back, but I think you're making a point that Nigeria should be for everyone, irrespective of which part of the country they're coming from. Let me get back to you very quickly, Chair.
So, like I was saying, the Constitution allows to form party, but there are regulations. So why would there be party that are not, properly spread, registered? It means that INEC is not doing their job by ensuring they verify the claims of this party before they are registered. And even when you register, the act, electoral act, give INEC power that a particular party that is not meeting the minimum requirement should be deregistered. So all this party, look at them. Are they meeting the minimum requirement in terms of geographical spread, in terms of membership? For instance, Shobora is from my state. He contested under a party. Even in his own local government, that party is not well represented. So what are you talking about? So the point is this. Let INEC do its work properly. Look at this party and be courageous enough to say, look, you are not meeting the minimum requirement and the list. So maybe we come with 10 or 11. Then let us see what happens.
Let's take this conversation to Kaduna. Pius is standing by. Good morning, Pius.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you. Go ahead, please.
Good morning to your guests.
Morning, Pius.
Thank you. All your guests, they have spoken very well. So what we need in this country right now is to reunite the country. The issue of 2023 is too early. And at the same time, from Kaduna, my governor said something, and I equally disagree with that. How? Because we have to put two things into consideration whenever we are talking of election. We have to talk of religion and we have to talk of ethnicity, whether we like it or not. In the past, there was Muslim ticket, and we know how Nigeria reacted to that. We all embrace it because of competency. But now, the politicians have already spoiled everything in Nigeria. We cannot talk of Muslim ticket by now, and we cannot talk of Christian ticket in this country. But what I'm saying here, we should stop celebrating mediocrity over competence and national interest. And to reunite Nigeria is a task that all of us must do in this country. For instance, the government of the day now, in giving position, please, they should bring in both every part of this country, so that if the next president, no matter where he's going to come from, if he's going to come from the southwest, fine and good, from the southeast, fine and good, so that at least every part of the country will be carried along.
All right, Pius.
People are not happy with what is going on.
Thank you very much for your contribution from Kaduna. So I'm concerned about the role that opposition parties have played over the years.
Yes.
They show up pre-election for campaigns. When they lose election, the only thing we hear afterwards is blatant criticism of everything government is doing. But in more developed climes, we see a situation where opposition parties come up with alternative solution to what the current government is doing. So if the incumbent does what is wrong, instead of saying, oh, you have done wrong, which is acceptable, no doubt, but can we also have a model of what you intend to offer for the people? I mean, there's nothing wrong in you giving an idea to the incumbent president. Well, it's left for him to accept it or not. But then the people can also tell that you're contributing your own quota to national development.
Yes, the average Nigerian politician, with all due respect, sir, but the average Nigerian politician is a lazy person.
How do you mean?
This is how I mean it. The average Nigerian politician, how many of them can engage you on the topics that they want to represent? I like that you even said you're an accountant. Yeah. And how many Nigerian politicians will practice a profession and practice their politics side by side? How many? Yeah. Oftentimes, when they delve into political office, they abandon their professions. And in abandoning it, they abandon probably everything they learned with it. So you find somebody who claims to have gone to school to study a course, and you're there in the Senate or the House of Reps or in the state houses of assembly or even as a governor, and what you studied has zero bearing on your leadership. What happened to your thinking? So you're going to the House to present a bill, and the bill is bereft of reality. Yeah. Somebody wakes up in the morning and then there is the digital protection, there's data protection, there is digital rights, name it, all kinds of laws, and then you're going to present a bill on hate speech. Did you read the plethora of other bills that had been passed to see whether it maybe an amendment of that bill is all you need to house your sentiments about whatever it is you want to push? It's in this country, somebody woke up and wanted to ban the use of SMS, short message service. Excuse me, what do you communicate with?
Let me take our last caller.
That tells you how lazily they think about these issues.
Good morning, George from Ikeja.
Good morning, Ifemi.
You have just 30 seconds. Please go ahead.
And greetings to the guest. Okay, you said 30 seconds, but please help me or help us tell Uncle Yori that he should send our Christmas chicken while on leave.
All right.
Talking more seriously, Nifemi, you asked two questions. Is it too early to talk about 2023? And if rotational presidency is supposed to be put into our constitution? My answer to the first one is that it cannot really be too early for one reason. The reason is that 2023
is going to experience a shift from one zone to another. So you cannot avoid talking about it at the beginning of, at this time. It wasn't like that during the last election, because they know the current president is seek another term.
I'm sorry, George, your 30 seconds is up. We're going to have this conversation again tomorrow. Let me have your final thoughts, Chief Ekungba. Briefly, we saw the South, help the North in 2015 and 2019. Who is the North going to help this time? If you're going to be a political prophet, looking through your years of experience into 2023.
I will say, who would they not help?
Okay.
They will not help anybody that is abusing them now. And what is called abuse? When you look at your brother and you play on his intelligence, you think he's a stupid person because he didn't read as much book as you are. And you start insulting him. He waits for you. At the appropriate time, he will tell you that he is as important as you are.
Do you see the Southeast getting the presidential slot from both of the big parties in 2023?
Well, I am not a doomsayer, but I know that there's a lot of work required in the Southeast for anybody from the Southeast to clinch the presidency. And I like what he said. It might be a bit too early to tell, because you need a lot of realignment for anybody, even for the Southwest, to throw up a unanimous candidate, or at least 2 unanimous candidates for either of the leading parties. A lot of work is required.
Gentlemen, we have to go now. Chijioke Eze, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program. Chief Jamo Jimo Afolabi Ekungba is the Ekon to Agbara of our kingdom, and accounted by profession and elder statesman by oral standard. Thank you for your contribution on the show.
Very grateful for this opportunity.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow with another exciting one. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. A big thank you to the crew members. Join us again.